We
Can
could,
you hear me?
yes.
Great, but my camera's not showing on.
Okay.
All right. I would like to welcome everyone to the postponed External Relations Committee meeting. This is Tuesday, September the 3rd, 2024, and I would like to call this meeting to order. And would you all please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America, to the flag,
to the republic for which it stands,
stands
one
one nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you ever get a chance to sing the national anthem at a ballpark, it's really kind of an unusual arrangement because you can say, "Oh, say," and you hear yourself out coming from center field. "Oh, say."
No, that's weird.
It's all right. Would you please call the roll? I think we're here.
I'm
Director
here.
Cicada
I'm here, yay.
and Director Thomas.
I am here. Okay, item number 2, public comment. Public may address the committee on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for future consideration. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone wishing to speak? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome back, Director Cicada.
Thank you.
Again, our condolences.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering when we would be able to see what we thought was going to be a standing agenda item for this committee on the whole digital dashboard, CCWD measures and all of that. That we had a really great kickoff meeting for months ago, but we have not seen hide nor hair or mention since then. So if you could go back and caucus with your colleagues and come up with some sort of schedule. We'd like to see it as a regular external relations status thing, especially with the rollout of the Tyler systems that are going to affect the interactions, I think, that you have with the ratepayer. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Francisco.
Michael Rogers, I understand you wish to speak.
Yes, good afternoon. Michael Rogers, LA Springs, and also my sincere condolences, Cindy, to you and your family. I have a request. I understand I was unable to attend the last board meeting, and I understand there was a presentation on the North Fork Project Power Authority, whatever it may be called. And I didn't see it posted. I wonder if our team might be able to get a copy of that presentation that Kelly presented at the meeting. Is that going to be posted, or can we get a copy of it?
Let me see if I can get an answer to that. Kelly, is there any plan to post that on the website? Yes. Is it posted now? No. Okay. All right. Michael, the answer was it will be posted at some future time to be determined or to be announced.
Great. Thank you very much.
It's, yeah. Oh,
And that's on the website right now.
yeah.
Okay.
A small correction, if you can view the video of the last board meeting, the video that was presented is also a part of that agenda that you can view.
Yeah, I did see the video and yeah, it was helpful, but I would still like to get a copy of the presentation if possible. Because the video is just a video.
Okay. We may have an opportunity to respond to that in.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's, you've made other things similar available in PDF format. That's all I need. I don't need anything beyond a PDF.
But it is just a video. It's Yeah, go ahead.
Come on up, Kelly.
So yes, the YouTube video is available, and a lot of those slides, they don't really stand alone. It's like a timeline, and it really is crucial to have the video. It's really a story. That presentation was a story of CCWD when it was formed and the North Fork project. So we will make the PDF available, but it really needs, I think, the video to complement the true essence of the presentation.
And
I-
along with,
I
Along with-
understand. I understand, Kelly, and I did see that, and I truly understand and respect that you giving it context is important. I would still like to have a copy of the PDF, however. It's very important for, our historical understanding and so on to helps us understand how we got here. So appreciate your help with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
all right, anyone online wishing to make a comment to the board? To this committee? No one. Last week, we determined that a person on a cell phone doesn't have the ability to raise their hand, so you just have to speak up if you want to address the committee or the board. I don't see anybody or don't hear anybody. All right, item number 3, approval of the minutes of the July 30th committee meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
All right, I second that motion, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's approved. All right, item number 4, new business 4A, an update on the Upper McCollum River Water Authority, also known as UMRWA. Mr. Coleman, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. For whatever reason, I don't have the Teams application that works on my desktop, and so I'm faceless, so to speak. But I would like to go into the Upper McCollum River Watershed Authority. The meeting was held August 16th in Valley Springs at the Comanche Parkway South at the watershed headquarters for East Bay Mud. We had a number of items on the agenda, and a lot of them were actually implementation items for forestry related issues, which are critical to everyone here at CCWD, as you're well aware. They did approve the grants totaling $11.6 million for work primarily north of Highway 88. The next work of money is going to be actually focused more in Calaveras County, and it will be benefiting CCWD in addition to other areas within CCWD. The state has been very good about providing the funds. However, that could be a problem in the future with the state's financial responsibilities at this point in time. Again, a lot of the work was done in the El Dorado forest, and there's going to be more work done there to complete it. And in the forest projects plan 1, they had there was a total of 26,256 acres that was to be dealt with, and it's being dealt with, and the budget exceeds $2 million. It has, as we go forward, again, we're going to have more funds being done in the Calaveras sector of where UMRWA is, and that's going to be beneficial. And we're talking a lot of dollars. We're talking up to 26,000 acres at a cost of $52 million, and overall cost could exceed $100 million or more, in the range up to $150 million to do the forest work that needs to be dealt with in order to minimize the damage of a major forest fire that is or could happen within our area. They're working with Blue Forest Conservation, the U.S. Forest, U.S. Service, USFS, and then the other entities as well. They're changing the name of the Forest Project Plan 2 to a MAC called the McCullum Amador Calaveras Forest Health and Resilience Project. And that will be up to 250,000 acres of landscape level planning and environmental compliance that involves the spans of both the Stanislaus and El Dorado National Forest and flanking the upper McCullough watershed. And so there's a lot of work that's going to be done, and they have money in the budget that it's going to happen. And it is going to be moving forward. They also did a consulting agreement for the UMRWA support personnel. And they also had an item on the agenda. They talked about the voluntary agreements, and that was a presentation was given verbally by Mike Togolini from East Bay Mud, and it's has implications everywhere and bottom, and basically they're we want to make sure that we don't have a negative impact on our river systems and our watersheds. And I know that they have been talking with Michael Minkler, our general manager, about this in the past. And so they have a plan going forward, and we'll see where it takes all of us. The state is not going to back away from this at all, and it's going to have potential implications. But if we don't do anything, it's potentially much worse, because the State Water Resources Control Board will step in and mandate what will happen and what will not happen. The other thing, which took quite a bit of time, was to actually have Mountain County Waters Resource Association join as a possible UMRWA membership. This is look at a total cost of having UMRWA join them, and a total cost of $1,200 a year. There was a lot of discussion on it, and Rich Farrington made the motion, and Scott had seconded it. And then their discussion ensued where people wanted more information, and they want that at the next meeting, which is October 4th at Pardee, to make that decision. I almost spoke in favor of it, but I really didn't know my role in that capacity. And I have the bottom line is MCWRA, I think, we would be benefited by having a membership with UMRWA, because they do lobbying work, and we need to be up front and frank. Not all
Something went wrong. Please try again.
not all the lobbying necessarily that we would want or push for, that East Bay Mud usually takes the lead on, would happen on the state level. So hopefully at the October 4th meeting, that they'll decide that they will join UMRWA will join Mountain County's Water Resources Association. They also had a legislative update. And with that, I'm more than willing to answer any questions anybody may have. And again, I apologize, my screen is not working.
I ask a question.
Sure, go ahead. Cindy has one.
Hi, John, it's Cindy.
Yes, Cindy.
What was or do we have a grant amount received that's going to be used in the Calaveras area? And if so, how much? Or are we just in the application phase of it? And
We're in
then
the
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, we're still in the planning phase, but we know what we need to do. And a lot of it's going to come from probably the mountain counties, as well as hopefully some from the federal and state areas. But it needs to be done. The Forest Service is very interested in having this happen, because they understand the implications of not having the forestry work done in order to protect the watersheds and where people live and work.
Did they mention about what time frame this would be when they're actually going to be doing some work like they've done in El Dorado?
They're probably the next 2 to 4 years securing the funds. And again, it's a lot of funds that they're looking at doing, and getting that fund, and then funds available, and bringing in, whether it be Blue Forest or whomever else, to help on that forestry work.
Okay. And then you said in the beginning, 11.6 million in grants. That's what was received for the El Dorado portions.
Yes.
Cool. And so, what are we anticipating what was the need for the Calaveras, side?
Let me go back to
Dollars-wise?
it's in excess of 100,000 acres. And excuse me, it's huge in terms of what they're looking at. And that's what they're going to be looking at closer as they get the time frame and where the money is going to come from and how much money will be available.
And then as far as budgeting, you said they had some budgeted, but that's probably just for planning expenses,
Yes, it's,
application expenses. Okay.
yes, you're
All right,
correct.
good. Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, with all these thousands and thousands of acres that you're talking about, I would anticipate that there would be a significant amount of timber sales that could occur on those acres. What did they clarify how that would work? I mean,
Well, generally speaking, when they do this kind of work, the way that it's done, yes, there'll be some timber sales, but a lot of the work is being done with lower level, smaller vegetation, which often doesn't meet the need for timber harvesting in terms of what you think of creating board footage. It's the lower level items on the forest floor that can then reach up into the tallest trees. So they try and keep the taller trees and protect those from the forest fire and having it climb up the trees and getting rid of the lower producing value wood. But that doesn't mean to say that there's not going to be a value in that lower production wood. There's a potentially for biomass production and using that scrap woods off the forest floor and out of the forest for production of energy through biomass. And then we've also had some discussions of how it could be maybe used with in Calaveras County for fertilizer aspects and creating the biomass that way.
Sure.
Okay, well, I occasionally stumble across figures that some expert would say, some forestry expert would say that a healthy forest shouldn't have more than about 20 large trees per acre. And then they go on to say that a lot of our acreage has 200 trees per acre, large and small. It just seems like to me that they could do some selective harvesting and but accomplish some worthwhile outcomes and also produce some revenue that could be used to thin other acreage. So
Yeah,
anyway.
because normally the log timber that's harvested, those funds that are paid for through a timber harvest plan actually go back to the U.S. Forest Service, and then that is to help other forestry activities take place. The problem is, and I'll be very upfront, our forests are in horrible shape. We've allowed way too much growth in them. They look great that way, but they're a menace to the forest health, to the ecology of the forest, and to people and people who may live near them. That's where you see some of the horrible forest fires that have taken place. It's because people have not managed the forest properly. The Forest Service is starting to do this. They would like to do it, but they haven't had the funds to do what they would need to do or like to do throughout the nation.
I can recall a couple of decades ago being asked to go out on some of the timber harvest plans and meet with the people that were going to do the harvesting and also meet with people that called themselves, the Highway 4 Forest Watch folks. And it was really a big eye opener to me that the people that valued the trees were completely back in that era. They were completely willing to disregard the fire threat because they didn't want any trees cut. So has that attitude changed with all these catastrophic fires?
I think the attitude is changing because we've had some major fires in our area, but throughout the rest of the state that have, if we have too much fuel and they burn at such high intensity with the heat, it sterilizes the soil. So that means when soil loses its vegetative roots, its roots underneath, because nothing can grow, and you have a wet winter or storms coming through, you have the greater possibility of slides occurring and sediment going into the rivers and lakes and reservoirs, which is clearly bad for everybody. So what you really need to do is you need to manage forest. I used to say, and always, years and years ago, is Smokey the Bear was probably one of the worst things for our forests. They look great, but it meant that we were not actually maintaining the forests the way they should have been maintained. Plus the funding wasn't there to begin with either.
Okay. Well, thanks for your report. Any questions on Mr. Coleman's report?
Yeah, and again, I apologize, my video is not working. I don't know what happened. I tested it earlier on my iPad, but my iPad doesn't have this Teams. I got to get the Teams that's on my iPad deleted and put a new Teams in for CCWD.
Next one.
Okay, I'm told that Michael Rogers has a question, and then we'll be standing by for, you say Pat Roy also? Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is Mike again from Valley Springs. John, thanks for the overview. I just want to get a clarification on some facts and figures you stated.
Sure.
You said there's over 100,000 acres overall, but earlier you mentioned 26,000 acres of mitigation work has been done or is scheduled to be done?
That's still in the implementation strategy for phase one. And that's where it's estimated to cost, and that's the work that's been done in the Amador side, and that's about 52 million to implement.
Oh, 52. Okay.
Okay.
So that 26,000 acres is not in Calaveras County.
No, and the money that came through initially was through the El Dorado Forest primarily, because of and now there's going to be shifting south into the Stanislaus Forest, which is our watershed.
Okay, I realize, John, there's a lot of tentacles to these things because of, local, federal, state regulators and funding. But as Pardee and the McCulney watershed and Pardee support a good portion of the East Bay, do the East Bay communities, Alameda County and so on, do they have some financial responsibility here to help protect their water supply?
Well, that's a good question. That was actually raised at the UMRWA meeting on the 16th of August. They have put money in. There was discussion, should there be a water tax? And whether that be on the number of acre feet of water taken out of, in this case, let's say the McCullough River. And then you have a number of Prop 218 issues that had to be dealt with, and whether that'd be enough money to raise it. I can tell you, having come from the East Bay area, that most people have a better understanding of what the fire hazards are and what the implications are by not treating the forest properly. It's a question again of the funds that are to be need available, and that's going to have to come from numerous sources. And I know the other fact in the East Bay Mud area, they have a number of watersheds locally that are also in high fire zone areas. In fact, the city of Orinda, which is in the middle of East Bay Mud, if you had state farmers insurance, I think it was, or State Farm, every single person in that city, which is over 40% of the people, lost their property owners insurance. Something similar has happened to our area, but not to that degree.
Yeah, well, that's a different animal, the homeowners insurance. I'm more concerned about the East Bay community, which is what, 5 million people having
not quite, but it's
having
like 2 million.
having skin in the game to help with this mitigation or effort. I mean, this is their drinking water, and I would think it would garner a lot of attention because, as you said, with the overgrowth of the forest, the potential is very high, and so therefore the financial risk seems to be borne more by the users of the reservoir than where it is actually located in the state, if that makes sense.
No, it does, because you're moving water from one source to the other, and the fire potential is in one source, but the water movement is moving to another part of the state in this case. Again, there was a lot of discussion at this meeting at the UMRWA meeting on August 16th and how to address it financially. They didn't come to a resolution, but they had a lot of questions.
Okay. Great. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, Pat Roy, are you still there? We can't hear you, Pat. Flip another
Yeah.
switch.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is not a question. I'd just like to thank Mr. Coleman for his honest, balanced, and accurate assessment of the forest situation as it stands today. More people need to hear it, so thank you very much for putting it out there.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That is all.
Okay. Anyone else wish to comment on John's report? Francisco.
Hi, John. Thanks. I was recently made aware of the existence of another special district. I think it's called the Calaveras County Resources Board, because they announced that they were doing some forestry mitigation in our neck of the woods, and they were talking about funding from U.S. Forest Service. Is there a coordination effort, or were you aware of any coordination efforts going on between what you all were talking about and this Calaveras County Resources Board that's also funding some mitigation efforts?
We are aware of them. We have to do a lot more coordination. They're not coordinating with UMRWA, that much I'm aware of. And we have met with some of the local entities who do the mitigation work in Calaveras County, just recently, actually, to look at what could be done.
Thank you.
Yes.
That organization, if I'm not mistaken, is called the Calaveras County Resource Conservation,
Resource conservation.
RCD. Interestingly, it was formed in part through the help of one of our CCWD former directors, Bob
Right.
Dean.
Is he still on that board?
I don't think he is.
But we did meet with them last week, actually.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. Perhaps you know if Bob Dean is still involved with them.
he is not.
Okay.
That's the impression I got. I can't say unequivocally, but I got the impression he is not.
So is Michael chiming in here real quick? Bob Dean is back on that.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah, so he is involved there. So we've had some conversations with him recently.
Okay, that's good
Thank you.
news.
Yeah.
The Resource Conservation District Board, I don't know whether they feel like they got a good deal or not, but they bought our old facilities on downtown San Andreas, gave the princely sum of $1 for it. We couldn't give it away to anybody else. So, all right. If there are no more questions on item 4A, let's move to 4B. Update on the Tuolumne Stanislaus Integrated Regional Water Management Authority, also known as TSTAN, and Kelly.
Good afternoon, President Thomas. Great to have you back, Director Cicada.
Good to be here.
So yeah, I'm going to give a little rundown of my notes from that meeting. Director Thomas, you were there as well, so if I missed anything, please chime in.
I will.
We can tag team this one maybe.
Yeah.
One of the most notably at that particular meeting that was on August 21st, 2024, at TUD's location where they normally are. But I've been going back and forth with Carolyn, who's the main contact with TSTAN, and we facilitated Phoenix Energy to come give a presentation. I thought it was a great presentation. Greg Stengel couldn't make it, but he sent Tom Perry instead and did a really great presentation. And I think just provided a lot of insight to all the folks who were there, who were initially curious about this technology and the potential for these facilities. One thing that really caught my eye or my ear was up on Highway 4 and what's called Penny Pines. It's kind of the interface up behind Meadowmont. I noticed some years ago there were several of those bags of what I've come to know now is biochar. And in that location, the Forest Service is doing a study in that location to see its impacts on putting it, introducing it back into the forest floor. So those results aren't quite ready yet, but I think that'll be really interesting to kind of see the whole, more to come on this, this biomass technology.
If I can interrupt you for a second, that it is true that they said that they don't have all their conclusions, but initially they can tell that putting this biochar back on the forest floor and kind of putting them into the soil helps with water retention quite a lot.
that's right.
And that's a very important thing, that the advantage that would be rendered by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really, really curious on this study and really looking forward to seeing what they came and then what came about or comes of it is, and really interesting too. Again, that's where I used to ride my bike all the time. And I always saw all these sites and I could tell something was happening, but it wasn't until this meeting that everything got put together for me. I connected all the dots. So really curious to see how that comes. There was a few grants for 2 different water fill stations. They're trying to ask for some more money in that grant to get another one. The location they're looking at right now is Sonora. One is in Murphy's. It's not complete yet, but one will be going in Murphy's, kind of by the park. I believe the other one is Groveland. And then this one that they're contemplating will be in Sonora. I'm not sure the exact location. I know it's somewhat located near a homeless camp, and so there'll be a water fill station to help folks out there. I don't know how far along the Groveland one is coming. And again, the Murphy's one is still in design. And I believe that one, they're going to be doing it all designed and built in-house. So T-Stan, they applied for a $155,000 grant through the Water Smart Cooperative Watershed Management Program to update its plan. And that plan was last updated in 2016. The update aims to include analysis and modeling for climate change impacts to the region. And the goal is to position the IRWM for future grant opportunities when DWR completes its watershed resiliency updates, or any new funding becomes available through the future proposition. Again, notably, the climate bond that's on the November ballot does earmark some funding for the IRWM and stormwater projects. And again, I didn't know this till just recently. There's been all that talk about what's the future of the IRWM, but in Prop 4, which is technically the Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, Drought Preparedness, and Clean Air Bond Act of 2024. It's quite the mouthful there. And so if that's passed, that's going to allocate $100 million towards grant funding for programs through the IRWM. The purpose is for projects related to the IRWM's management plan to improve climate resilience. A lot of it's really focused more on the climate resiliency component. That's why when they're going for that grant to update their plan, it's to incorporate more of that climate change and climate resiliency component, which is what a lot of this upcoming funding is really looking at.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So, a while back, I heard they were talking about, we didn't know the future of IRWM. So if they're putting something like this in proposition, does that sound like the IRWMs are going to be up and around and being used still, or where are we at on that?
Sure. It certainly sounds like potential. It was good. I wish I would have known about this a little sooner. I just kind of learned this. I didn't really know that there was a certain amount of funds earmarked in this bond, and there's quite a lot to this bond. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, the bond aside, has there been any more discussion on the future for IRWMs?
I'm not really getting that. I'm still getting, whenever we've talked about it, there's still a lot of uncertainty. So I do feel every time at these meetings where no one's really clear. I mean, we're still going to push forward and try to continue it as it is, but there's certainly, it appears that there's probably some looming changes.
But what I took from the comments that I heard there was that this particular group with Carolyn and Lindsay's, that they're taking the position, and I think it's a wise one, to they're observing that a lot of IRWMs in other areas are kind of folding their tent and waiting. there's only,
Don't do that.
there's going to be $100 million only for the whole state. And
They
that-
fold, fine. If the others fold, fine.
well, yeah,
Keep
that,
banner.
that's sort of the feeling, and they were keen on the idea, the concept of having shovel-ready projects
Right,
in the queue, so that
there should be.
we would get fair share of that 100 million here.
Wasn't there also talking, if you're gonna talk about it, then just say we'll get to there, about maybe the T-stand merging with another area?
A few meetings ago, they were talking about just redoing the lines.
region.
Redoing the
Yeah.
regions, yeah, and what that looks like more at a watershed region. I mean, I
Yeah,
haven't
what
got
happened
any
with that?
definitive answers of what that would
Okay.
look like.
That
But-
was talked about.
There was a couple meetings ago, they talked about that, not necessarily combining, just kind of redrawing.
Right, and I think it was about the watersheds. I think that's something that we should really keep, follow up on and ask T-Stand to bring it up whenever possible, if they know anything, because that would be, if they redo the lines properly, I think that would be better for the T-Stand and maybe some others, I don't know.
Yeah, and one thing I can tell you, I mean, they're still moving forward as somewhat as business as usual. I mean, again, with these water fill station grants, they're still going for that grant to update the plan to incorporate that climate change component. So depending on how this ballot goes and how the money is allocated, to put ourselves in a better position to hopefully benefit from that.
Yeah. That'd be good.
So that was really it, unless President Thomas, you can recall anything else from that meeting. Again, a huge focus of that meeting was on the presentation. It was quite the presentation, and I thought he did a fantastic job, Tom. But that was most of the meeting, was that presentation. And I'm not going to go through that presentation. He did a good job. It was
Did a good job.
lengthy.
Well, I did find some surprises there on Tom Perry's presentation on the energy, that the mechanism that is employed in producing energy through this forest waste. I was very surprised to learn that they don't burn it. They just heat it hot enough to extract the hydrogen gases that are contained within that material. And they have a way of funneling the hydrogen gases over into internal combustion engines that burn that hydrogen gas and produce electricity that way.
Right.
And that's why it doesn't fully consume the cellulose material. It's just turned into a biochar. Some of it would be the consistency of flour, I guess, to a certain extent. But the other frightening thing about it was that they're going to build here. They're proposing to build. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 3.3 megawatts. That's what we're partnering with.
And
Yeah.
West Point.
Yeah, in West Point. But the cost associated with that, he said that it was about $13 million per megawatt to build that facility and get it up and running. Is that what you remembered?
I'll have to look back at my notes. I do know I wrote those down, but I don't remember the exact amount off the top of my head. That sounds right.
So that's a fairly significant investment.
Yes.
And he talked about that the only thing that's standing in their way is some getting some financial approvals. I think they want somebody to guarantee $40 million worth of fund reimbursement if things go sideways. But anyway, it was it was very interesting, and I'm sure that at least I'm hopeful that when this does get up and running, that it will be like something that will be replicated in counties up and down the state where we're all fighting the same problem with the out of control growth in the forest, and this would be one helpful way to mitigate that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's too bad that they won't give them more money per kilowatt to help with the payback. So anyway, does anybody have any questions for Kelly? Yes, please.
Thank you, Kelly. Francisco de la Cruz, I'm getting lost in all of the acronyms and responsibilities and how they're helpful and why we're there and all of that. Is there any possibility of putting something up, Kelly, to maybe a map showing the various organizations that we're a member of and somewhere where we can look at and say, oh, because I mean, there's a reason you all are driving to all these meetings and sitting there and watching all this stuff and coming back. I mean, it's got to have some benefit. I'm having a difficult time understanding how that all plays in, and it would be helpful for us to know that we're being represented, or maybe we have some friends that we could talk to and say, hey, did you know that you could influence this board that could help us, blah, 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 blah. And right now I'm at a loss. It's an alphabet soup.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I like that idea because I've been asking for that other map. So, because I want a map like right here by me. Could be anywhere, but that shows our facilities, because sometimes I'll talk about, I mean, I know where Metamont is, but sometimes they'll use them and I won't know what they are. But doing something like our Integrated Regional Water Management Group, that would be really nice, you know, and maybe a map here and just the acronyms for certain things posted in another area within this building would be cool.
You know, I agree. I think that's a really good idea. Thank you. I mean, even on our website too, we can have that component. I mean, we do have an overview, but it doesn't go into, I think, the detail. And he's right. I'm still in the same acronym soup, shall we say. You know, there's a lot of it. And so it would be, this is a great, I think this is a great group, you know, the T-Stand, and anything we can do to explain what it is and what it has accomplished in the past and the potential for the future, I think is a good thing. Just to explain that to our folks.
Don't we have I mean, I have one, I'd have to find it, but all their acronyms for anything water, sewer. And if we had that in PDF on site, folks can print it themselves and look at it. Cause I know when I first got into it, it was like, holy cow, you know, and you're almost embarrassed to say, but once you're in the business for a while, you know them, but that might be something that could be done sooner than later if you
Right.
have one. If you don't, I have one somewhere. I know MSD does. I know you guys got to have one.
MSD, I'm not sure.
Murphy Sanitary District.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
God, that was good.
It was good.
Yeah, it was.
He just reeled in on that.
He sure did. Hey, doesn't anybody know what MSD is? Come on.
I know what MSD is. Yeah.
That's funny. But anyhow, I mean, maybe that could be done in PDF easy. And that's a lot of the acronyms for anything in water and sewer, not just,
Right.
you know, IOWM.
Well, and two, I mean, I can also link to the plan that I was referencing, you know, the 2016 plan that we're updating. Just that's a simple link to their website. They've got an informative website that just might help. And even just those links, again, for folks who want to learn more about it, that'll really help.
Tuolumne Stanislaus Integrated Regional Water Management, and then there's a group and a P for plan, depending. So we usually stop at the M. But when you go to their website, they have all the founding information, and it's pretty interesting. It's come a long way.
Yeah, I think their website also lists all the grants over the years and the different agencies that have gotten the grants. Well,
All right. Do we have any questions from Michael Rogers or Pat Roy? Okay, let's move on.
Good to go.
Okay, let's move on to 4C, discussion regarding a Calaveras County Water District water/wastewater apprenticeship program. Are there age restrictions on that? I'm looking for another career, so.
you have to be 18
Oh, I'm 18.
on this particular one. So
Turn it around, so.
yeah. So really quick, just to make sure we're clear, this is very conceptual. This is,
Okay.
there's no program implemented yet. I mean, there is, but not in the way that we're envisioning this. So I'll kind of walk through what the concept of this is. It really, I think the two folks that were really pushing this and really got us all of our juices flowing is CPUD and UPUD. Both Travis and Jessica really have kind of spearheaded this. There was a lot of great conversation after the CSDA conference. And just talking about an apprenticeship program, of course, Stacy and I and many others here
I
have always
mentioned
talked
it a
about
lot.
it. We've had them before in the quite a few years ago, and it's something that we really want to do. It's just what would that look like? So this particular program is, why I'm here today is this concept really stemmed again from UPUD's recent receiving several applications for their trainee position. 3 of the standout candidates who have recently graduated from local high schools applied for that. Notably, each one of those candidates had their parents had work in the field throughout the county, and I've listened to them who were on the interview panel, and they just said it was really inspiring to see these young kids fresh out of high school, eager to get started in a program like this, and so it was really inspirational. Again, like I said, UPUD and CPUD, they really inspired this of hosting an apprenticeship program. The vision includes establishing a countywide internship program where interns will enroll in the Cal Rural program and potentially rotate through other various agencies. That's something, again, conceptual. We don't know how that looks. We have had some meetings with Cal Rural. One of the folks on that board is actually Teresa Tanaka. He used to work for us here. So she was very excited that CCWD was interested in a program like this. When we spoke with their executive director, he expressed strong support for this initiative. And they also noted that maybe partnering with the County Workforce Development Board or Motherlode Job Training might help us to access grant funds, or could cover 60 to 70% of the costs for the staff, because that's this program that I'll tell you about here in a moment, the Cal Rural program. It essentially, you have to already be employed with an agency. You have to be 18, and then once you enroll in this program, it's $1,500 per year, and it would it basically get the you get the credentials to get your T2 and your D2, and then also your backflow certificate, and be ready to go for your D3 and T3. The D is distribution, treatment is treatment, but it's, we say T, and those are the different levels of certifications. And so what we're really wanting to do is work with Motherlode Job Training to help us with the costs of these staff members or the interns. Union PUD currently has 2 employees that are enrolled in this program. They are full-time employees with them, but again, that's a cost of $1,500 per employee. And when they're finished with this program, they will again get their T2 and D3 and be eligible for those D3s and T3 certifications. This initiative really represents a significant step forward in ensuring the future workforce is well prepared and certified to meet the demands of our water and wastewater operations. And I really saw this firsthand too when I did the last spring, when we went to the different high schools and did On the Right Track, or we did a job fair at Bret Harte. There were so many of these young adults who are trying to figure out what they want to do. And I really came across a lot that wanted a good career like this, or knew about a career like this, and maybe didn't want to go to college, or that wasn't the path for them, and just wanting to know other great careers. And at the Bret Harte one in particular, we had several folks from inside CCWD come. Tiffany, who works in operations here, Zach, who's a treatment operator, Joe, who's a distribution operator, and myself. I think we had a lot of different components covered, and we had so many young folks coming up asking about the water and wastewater industry. It was really great to see that interest. And so a program like this, I think, could be really good for our county. Really good for not just our youth, but I mean, what initially comes to mind for me is some of these kids, young adults, fresh out of high school, wanting to stay in the county and have a great, worthwhile, very satisfying career. So more to come on that. Again, it's very conceptual. Stacy's been working with me as well on this, so she can maybe answer any questions, or if I missed anything.
Well, the comments that I have would be, I know you folks go out to the schools and talk about what CCWD does. So that's extremely helpful in educating the young adults into what they could do without going to college. And I think in any program that we decide to do, I think it should be focused on the young adults who, like you said, they want to work where they've lived, where they've been born and raised perhaps. And because if it's not CCWD or a district like this, you know, water or sewer, what do they have left? Construction and hospitality, which isn't always that lucrative for them. So I'd like to see
Or dependable.
dependable, right?
Right.
You're always going to need clean water and a place to flush your toilet. And so going to those, going when you go to the fair and you set up your booth, and I know you talked about, you know, jobs. And with everybody retiring and getting older, it's time to, you know, make sure that we bring people in that can be trained, you know, whether, well, hopefully it would be for here, but, you know, what you mentioned about, interweaving them through the other districts within the county, I think would be really important. But I think it would give a nice, training, you know, because sometimes people train differently than others. So having it mixed in might be really nice. But
Right.
I love the idea, and I hope it's something that you can bring forward and we can do. I think it's important. But the only caveat I would like to see is that it's for young adults who have lived here for a certain time frame. You know, not somebody who just moved here because they know they can try and get at CCWD and yet they came from Modesto or something, you know. I think we should try and give opportunities for the people that have already been here for a certain amount of time frame.
Right. Yeah, I should also mention not just UPUD and CPUD, but the manager for MSD,
Mhm.
Christina's
Oh, good.
son is in the program as well. So she really kind of tipped us off to it as well and kind of told us about it. But he's doing it out of the county. I believe it's in
So-
Sacramento County. So he goes down there, but he's part of this program, and it's just
Yeah.
it's a great. And I can provide more information on the program. Again, we're trying to mold almost our own program with this program and mold it into something. So very conceptual still.
Another thing, I think that's great, Christina's son getting in there, and you said a couple of their employees have their kids in there, and that's awesome. But it would also be nice to somehow have some kind of an outreach for those that maybe don't have parents that are even working for that matter, you know, but not working in this environment, to make sure that we get out there and let them know about the opportunities, not just having it something for employees, young adults, even though they should be able to get in the program, of course,
Right.
you know, but
No,
you know,
I
reaching out to those who may not even know, or nobody's even encouraged them to do anything for whatever the reason. I would love to have something,
think that's
another
great.
component.
And I'm really glad you say that. I mean, what I've noticed is, you know, my own daughter, this is all she's known, is having her dad be a water guy. So she knows it. But when I went to these events, there's so many people that don't even think about it. There is so many people that don't think about this mysterious substance that comes out of your tap and then just mysteriously flushes down the toilet. It has this magical sense to it, and people don't understand what's really underground or the magnitude of the infrastructure to get it there. And so I think with these particular young adults who applied, I mean, they know there's this industry out there. I think a lot of people don't. And so even more important, and I hear what you say loud and clear, and that's my job, hopefully, is to really get out into the schools and teach them all about it. And not just the fixing stuff, not just the guy getting all dirty, but the engineering
Yeah.
and the financial part of it. I mean, there's so many different components, the water resources component. It's huge, and it's not just, you know, what you might think of just fixing leaks and stuff, right?
Right.
Which is a huge, absolutely huge
Yeah.
component.
But, you know,
But
sometimes like, you know, I've been on several, boards or whatever that decide when they have a grant to give out, right? So they look through all the applications. And some young adults aren't even really aware that they're out there for whatever reasons. Maybe they don't have the right mentor guiding them, or you know what? And so I just hope that we could do something to get to some of those young adults, to let them know that, you know, how we do that. I don't know, counselors at school. And anyhow, I just hope that can be integrated as part of this apprentice program, you know, making sure we get out there, because I think it's just a wonderful thing for, especially for the children, I say, that are children right now, you know, living here in the county, and a lot of them won't be able to live here, buy a house even, without a good job and benefits and stuff.
Yeah, and now that school started, I will be in the schools more. Again, last year I was there a few times. I didn't just do the job fair, but I went to one of the classes, and I did, I think, 4 different periods, and it was a long day just talking about it. And if the morning class, I think the kids were tired, it wasn't as much engagement, but those second 2 classes, you know, they were just really excited, really good questions. And
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
there's just this one other story that I have to share. I think I've shared it before, but it's a good story and I'll share it again. It was at the frog jump. And I had this young man come in, and he had to have been 9 years old maybe, but he was one of those, you could just tell he's special. He looked you in the eye when he talked to you. He asked really profound questions. I had the meter contraption there, what we call the meter contraption. It's the 4 different meters. He asked about each one, asked about the valve, asked why the valve has these little ears on it and has holes in it.
Engineer.
Asked why there's different ones. He asked about the fire hydrant. I had a fire hydrant there. He asked why it's such color, and he was just very well spoken. And he would always say, "This is really interesting to me. Thank you." And
He's working for us now.
Yeah.
Just,
he will be. And so we talked about it because he stayed in the booth for a while. He liked being in there, and he was there for quite a while. And so, you know, I told him, you know, every time you take a shower, every time you drive by and you see a fire hydrant, you have to promise me to think about what it takes to maybe, you know, what's under your feet, what's underneath your car, or what's underneath your feet in the sidewalk when you know, walk by it, and just think about how it's there, how it's getting there, you know. And
You know, another suggestion would be to do a field trip with some of these kids. Maybe not even the ones that are totally interested. Maybe, what do we call them? I don't know. And anyhow, and get a group of kids that you can bring on a field trip like we've done for Francisco and Mike and everything, and us.
absolutely.
And just to show them it's not all, what's the word? I gotta be cautious. I'm thinking of sanitary. It's not all about poop. You know, I mean, there's so much more to it than flushing the toilet, and getting them out there to see the infrastructure might be pretty cool. I don't know if you can insurance wise, but it would be nice,
Absolutely.
you know, for the high schoolers.
well, we couldn't have a better qualified person to be representing us in that capacity.
Yeah.
You're kind of like a poster child for what you're trying to
That would be a
Create
young
your-
adult.
well, I mean, we did give you a degree here, didn't we? With a graduation ceremony and all that.
No, but I have told people before that I have a degree in CCWD.
Okay.
I've been asked. Yes, I have used that. It's, I
Yeah.
don't know if they understand what I'm saying, but
Well,
yeah.
I've said this before, but we're very lucky to have you, and if you could steer somebody into this career path, good for you.
Thank you. And Casey, did I capture everything? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
I hope the next time we present on this, we have a program. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, hopefully we'll see. No promises, but again, we're working.
Okay, you mentioned career counselors at school. You do reach out to them early, I'm supposing, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't have her name with me right now, but there was one of the counselors and teachers that was at the fair too. We exchanged cards, and I gave her my whole presentation spiel, and she loved it, and wants to invite me there as well. And so, you know, even if we can't do a tour, I think with some of the wonderful digital tools we have now, we can do that. And, you know, my big vision has always been basically from the watershed to your tap. You know, I want to, as this weekend, I had a whole bunch of tree work done in my house, and so it's very, very dusty, and I was just watering it down because it was incredibly dusty. And as I was sitting there, I went, wow, this water was in Spicer at some point. You know, and here it is coming out my hose. That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
Violating the rules though.
Yeah.
You can't just spray down your.
Oh,
Yes, you can.
I was misting. I
It was
well
watering
within-
the lawn.
I was using the customer portal to see my exact usage, and it was doing all right.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys are working on that. I think that's really important, especially with so many people that we have retiring and trying to give back to the community. I mean, they put together this place. I mean, they support it, so why not help them somehow?
I'm thinking though that we may be shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, we have all these people that they're going to be very motivated and become wonderful employees. In order to keep them here, we got to pay them more money, and then we'll get criticized for paying too much money to salaries.
You don't have to be negative about that. If they're born and raised here, more power to them to come get a job here.
No, I'm not being negative. I'm just anticipating that we may have a negative fallout about paying
I don't think we will.
high wages. Anyway, anybody have any comments or? Sure, go ahead.
That's all you get is one.
Thank you. I encourage you, Kelly, as a graduate of an engineering school just down the road, they had a cooperative education program where they sent you out on internships, and you think you're going to learn X and you end up learning W, V, T, S, Q. You never expect what you come out with after you go. So it's a very rewarding experience. And if you can get folks that are in their junior or senior year of engineering school to come out here and do some internships, and they typically are, 3 to 6 months at a time. And sometimes you end up with a permanent employee, but you always end up with a good solid output from a motivated college kid. So I encourage whatever you can do to, grow this into a point where we can consider having an intern or two that turns into a permanent employee. I would trade it for a different experience. Thank you.
Be nice to have them just, lining up at the door wanting to come in. Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Hey.
you.
Anybody on the online? Going once, twice? Michael Castro, you've been very quiet today. Last chance. All right. If we had a general manager, he could make some comments now.
He's not here.
He was supposed to be listening, or he was. He
was
chimed in a minute ago.
He's good. We don't need to hear.
We don't need it. Okay.
Sorry, Michael.
Going on to director comments or future agenda items. That's you.
That's me. I'm glad to be back. Sorry, I missed several meetings, but it is what it is. Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful well wishes. And I'm okay for right now as far as what to say. Agenda items, I would like to have that regular agenda item, even if it's an update about how we are. Is there anything new in what we're measuring or anything like that? Just give an opportunity to have some discussion if something comes up. I think that would be nice. The agenda here today was really nice, and it does work with other things, as far as external relations with others. But I'm working with, how we're measuring and what we're measuring, I think still needs to not be overlooked. I think we need to stay focused on that. That's it.
Okay, well, you one of the meetings that you unfortunately couldn't attend. I don't know whether you had a chance to review Kelly R's presentation on this Tyler transition and how grueling that's going to be. They've got target dates and in order to fix those, I mean, it would seem to me that there would be some opportunity to pick something out of what they're doing and report out on it. But I, for one, don't want to distract them from the task at hand.
I did look at the PDF portion that was in the agenda, but I have not seen the video yet, and I'm told I can now. So I will look at that because I heard that was really good, Kelly.
Okay, next committee meeting will be on October 22nd at 1 p.m. And if there are no further comments, I think that concludes this meeting. Thanks for everybody's being here.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting.